Hello, my name is Mark, and I thank you so much for coming by today. Now, I'm sure you've heard the old phrase, stop and smell the roses. It's an idiom that's been around since the early 20th century. Its meaning is simple and works to advise us not to take life too seriously and to enjoy the little moments of beauty in our everyday lives that we may normally walk right past. It also coaxes us to slow down and be aware of our surroundings in order to be part of the scene we're in and not just spectate it. My daughter often reminds me to be the star of my own movie, to influence other characters positively and change the set design or location when necessary, and to enjoy the soundtrack that keeps us moving forward. It's a charming and uplifting way to enjoy those small moments that make up a larger collection of moments in our lives. But most of us are so busy all the time, we forget to do things like smell the roses, or even lie down and watch the clouds, or just daydream about things that don't matter. For me, there's a unique therapy in stopping and smelling the roses that can have powerful benefits, and that's what this discussion is about today as it relates to artists and creative people. It's something that I like to call flower wisdom. The first thing to consider when we stop and smell the roses is the word stop. Anytime we can stop or even slow down the motion in our lives, the better it is for our overall health. It helps to control our breathing, which moves oxygen in our blood, which helps to keep us balanced in our bodies and our brains so we can think better, work better, and just feel better. Then we have the word smell, which is all about breathing in our environment, connecting aromatic scents with what surrounds us. For me, I love the smell of fresh cut grass, a hot cup of coffee, and a campfire at night. Of course, smell can also alert us when something is toxic or bad to help us avoid an unpleasant experience. The simple acts of stopping and smelling can be seen as basic forms of meditation, where we slow our body functions down, collect our mental faculties, and get our bearings on what's going on around us and organically recharge ourselves. One thing I really enjoy is taking my lunch break at work and laying in the grass on a small hill by my office. Just 30 minutes of lying in the sun and letting all my thoughts drift away is a great way to go back to work and end my day. Other phrases we hear are to chill out, pause for a moment, savor the experience, take a breather, and also one of my favorites, it's about the journey, not the destination. This is a good phrase because it reminds us that while we have a goal, a destination, it's important to take breaks along the way and stop and smell the roses. Flower wisdom is about seeing life through the perspective of a flower, to find joy in simply existing and focus on nothing but personal growth and well-being. Flowers nurture themselves by driving their roots into the earth to soak up nutrients from the soil and to extend their leaves to capture the light, the air, and the moisture all around them without arrogance, conceit, or vanity. We too should be nurturing ourselves, consuming healthy nutrients, and extending ourselves to capture all the goodness around us and appreciate who we are, again, without arrogance or vanity. I have 8 points to this flower wisdom that you may find helpful in slowing down a bit, to take a break when needed, and to use the energy around us in our surroundings to be more productive and confident in our endeavors. The first point of flower wisdom is to live bold and in full color. If you find a flower, you'll find a bold world of life, fragrance, and color. A brilliant red rose will always be associated with love and passion. A delicate daisy will always symbolize innocence and purity. A flaming iris is courage and wisdom, while a white lily is most commonly found at funerals, representing spiritual renewal. Artists will often communicate without subtlety and rely on a palette of bold colors to capture a viewer's attention, much like a rose. Or for those artists who create work monochromatically, they use a splash of color in a clever way to draw the viewer right into their work. Whatever style or medium we work in, nature has proven that color is a big part of life and our surroundings. For artists, living bold and in full color allows for the most expressive opportunities in what we create. As a pen and ink artist, my work always looks finished in black and white. However, once I go in and start to lay color, that's when I realize just how much information and emotion I can communicate beyond black and white. The second point is to embrace the moment. Flowers don't worry about when they're going to bloom. They just bloom. Artists need to stop worrying about when they will bloom, when they will find their style and get better than they are right now. This concern is unnecessary and only serves to keep us from the very things we worry about. As artists, it's important to find glimmers in our creative process. Glimmers are the opposites of triggers. So when we're normally triggered by mistakes or comparing our work to other artists or even the anxiety of not knowing what to create, instead we can look for glimmers, those little micro moments of joy we find in the creative process. The comfort of being in a safe, creative space to immerse ourselves in our work, and the happiness we get from just sitting down to sketch, knead, or knit. For me, I find those glimmers when cleaning up my workspace, doodling, or just mixing colors for fun. Finding joy in a simple doodle or sketch is like walking in the woods on a fall day. It costs nothing, it allows us to immerse in the moment, and becomes a snapshot of our life that we can enjoy, that we can learn from, and we can reflect on later. The third point, recognize our unique beauty. The funny thing about flowers, and nature in itself, is that it doesn't know that it's beautiful. A rose doesn't look at an iris and feel jealousy. A tulip does not see a daffodil and feel badly because it's not as beautiful. The author Walt Whitman once wrote about animals in his book Leaves of Grass. He said, "Animals are so placid and self-contained. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. Not one is dissatisfied. Not one of them kneels to another. Not one is respectable or unhappy, all over the earth." It seems to me that this could be especially applied to flowers as well. Every artist is individual and creates work with their own unique mix of shapes, colors, lines, and expressions. Finding our own voice to create with, a style, to represent what we'd like to say to the world, is not unlike flowers with their bold colors, their interesting shapes, and their powerful aromas. Flowers exist for one purpose: to facilitate reproduction and ensure the survival of the species. Flowers do not compare themselves to other flowers. Artists should not compare themselves to other artists. Flowers serve a specific purpose: to grow from a seedling, to blossom, and to attract pollinators. Artists serve a specific purpose as well: to grow from a novice, to blossom into an advanced, and to attract viewers who will hopefully enjoy or buy or collect our work. Recognizing our own unique beauty is essential to our purpose. If we don't see the beauty, neither will our audience. If we don't have confidence in our work, neither will the people who look at it. To respect and appreciate the time, the commitment, the experience, and the passion we put into our work is to see the value in our work. Therefore, if we see the value, we can recognize the beauty that exists in our own work. The fourth point is to share our beauty freely. Flowers openly share their beauty with each other, with the wildlife around them, and with people who enjoy them most of all. But flowers don't share their beauty for some kind of gain, advantage, or reward. They just are, and they have no say whether they're beautiful or not. A lot of artists hide their work away from the world because they're insecure or lack confidence that their work is good enough. I do this myself sometimes, and I'll bet that you might do it too. Some of our best work has never been seen by anyone. In today's world, artists openly share their work, their beauty, on social media. But on social media, artists are usually looking for some kind of gain or reward, like views, hits, comments, and followers, or even money. If artists could just be happy sharing their work without any rewards, then there'd be a lot less worry and a lot more productivity. We could thrive in sharing our beauty without expecting anything in return, just like flowers. Flowers connect with all of nature around them: bees, rain, birds, trees, wind, and more. Artists who understand flower wisdom can also connect with the world around them by developing personal relationships through conversations, collaborations, debates and discussions, or even using their work to barter for goods and create meaningful connections. Flowers use a network to grow and nurture. A wise artist will also network by recognizing the beauty in other artists and extend themselves to connect through positive support and create even more relationships. The irony is that while flowers give without expectation of something in return, they're not very nice. Flowers aren't kind and they don't have compassion, yet somehow they're able to connect with nature all around them. Fortunately, as artists, we do have compassion and we are kind, thoughtful creatures. So we have the ability to support, encourage, and relate to other artists to create those firm bonds and build relationships to connect with people and nature that's all around us too. The fifth point is to nurture ourselves. Flowers require sustenance like earth, water, and sunlight. We also need sustenance like food, comfort, and clean air. If we exist in a space that is cluttered and chaotic, our lives will be surrounded in clutter and chaos. If we make poor decisions in our everyday diet, it will negatively affect us and we'll feel unhealthy and bad about ourselves. And if we breathe toxic air, which can be literal or it can be the toxic attitudes of others around us, then we will choke and suffocate. It's vital for us to take care of our bodies and our creative spirit. This means our home, our health, and our environment. In order for us to have a healthy creative spirit, we need to set boundaries for ourselves to keep our time, well-being, and our energy in check. Flowers do not care if there are flowers growing all around them. They will grow despite what's around them and will use them to help perpetuate their survival. It's funny how flowers can fill a field, yet they all grow at the same rate and with the same vigor. Yet, when weeds find their way into that field, their aggressive, toxic nature will try to starve and destroy all the flowers around them, trying to perpetuate their own survival as well. For artists, it's paramount to keep the weeds from taking over our field, and by this, I mean people who lean toward toxicity and negative attitudes. They will limit growth through cynicism, criticism, and raising doubt. And they will stunt our vigor by suffocating our positive energy until we are taken over by their negativity. By keeping our bodies healthy, our workspace organized, and our influences positive, we can nurture our creative spirits. And when we feel nurtured, we can then turn around and offer our positive influence on others to help them grow, thrive, and succeed as well. It's important for artists to surround themselves with like-minded attitudes to reinforce this kind of positive support. Number 6, thrive in our environment. Flowers will thrive in the right environment provided they have all the elements they need to flourish. In the wrong environment, flowers cannot survive and will eventually wither. The same is with artists. If we put an artist in a constricting environment, their energy and spirit will not survive. They will become bored, complacent, and eventually uninterested in pursuing the creativity they need to thrive. I spent many years in the creative field where I was able to use my creative skills and get paid for it. However, what I didn't realize was that jobs I worked at were always about deadlines and pressure to finalize the next project. The personalities ranged from negative and heavy to competitive and bullish. It's strange to think about withering and dying at a job that was all about creativity, but that's how it was in the corporate world. Now, I work in a whole different field where I'm surrounded by intelligent people who support each other's success and promote well-being and positivity. It's not always perfect, but it's a huge difference from the career that I had. I thrive in my environment because I removed myself from the wrong one and put myself into the right one. Even though it took time to adapt, adjust, and get used to a completely new field of work, it was successful for me because it changed my attitude and I had control over the environment that I was in. It's kind of like taking a plant out of the wrong box and putting it in a pot to have room to grow and flourish. The 7th point is to look for ways to grow and adapt. One amazing thing about flowers is their ability to adapt to local conditions, whether it is wet, dry, cold, warm, light, or dark. Just take a look at ivy plants, creeping plants, or even moss. The primary objective of a flower, and plants in general, is to survive. They will fight and take over any space where there is an opportunity to grow. The roots of a flower will not stop if there's a rock in the way. They'll grow right around it. Despite any challenge a flower may encounter, they will pursue their growth by any means necessary and will adapt to whatever the conditions are presented to them. For an artist, this means not getting hung up on obstacles and view them as opportunities. It means not getting hung up on a failed project and starting over again as quickly as possible. It means learning what may not be working for us, adapting and making adjustments, and trying a whole new approach. And if that new approach fails, then reassess the entire approach and find a new way to grow around that rock. When I was in my 20s, I was an airbrush illustrator creating package designs, retouching photos, and doing ads in magazines. Software like Photoshop and Illustrator were just coming onto the market, and I had no interest in being a computer artist. I was very comfortable being an airbrush illustrator. But soon, I found that all the service bureaus in Boston were working digitally, and people were not looking for airbrush illustrators anymore. They wanted someone who could work on a computer. For me, if I didn't change my way of thinking, adapt to the new technology, and adjust my skills to be attractive, then I would be out of a job. So, I spent many nights studying the Photoshop Bible and sitting down at a Macintosh computer at a local Kinko's center to teach myself how to be a digital artist. I was like a flower in the desert trying desperately to grow in a hostile environment that I knew nothing about. I worked really hard to learn every aspect of digital art, and eventually my perseverance paid off. What I found is that having a solid proficiency in traditional art and design and being fluent with the skills of digital design, I had now become very attractive to a wide range of opportunities. And that's when I got my big break and began working for the Gillette Company as a senior designer. For artists today, being completely traditional doesn't leave a lot of room for growth. Yet being completely digital doesn't leave a lot of room to adapt and understand the tools that predated the digital era. But being able to embrace both traditional and digital environments, an artist can find plenty of opportunities for growth. And much like when a flower encounters something unnatural, like a metal fence or a concrete wall, artists can continue to grow around new challenges like AI by adapting to the environment based on their natural ability to survive and thrive. Finally, number 8, to understand the wisdom of flowers. Flowers don't think about anything. That's not how they work. Flowers are instinctive organisms with one function: to grow and blossom and reproduce. They don't question their own motives or ask permission to grow. They just grow. Too many artists look to other artists for inspiration and mimic their styles. Too many artists ignore their own intuition and make mistakes because they expect perfection. The wisdom of flowers is that flowers don't have any wisdom. They simply grow because they don't know any better. They aren't beautiful by choice, but by their instinct to survive. They don't choose to blossom, it's just what they do within their life cycle. For artists, if we could learn from flowers, we would grow because we don't know any better. Our work wouldn't be beautiful by choice, but by the instincts we leverage while creating it. And we wouldn't choose to create, it's what we would simply do and what we would be within our life cycle. Flowers do not seek perfection. If they did, they would die. For artists to seek perfection, it means they will always fail and be disappointed. The wisdom of flowers is to simply trust our intuition, follow our gut, and feed our passion to create by creating. To simply do it and not think about it. So, to simplify this entire discussion, flowers hold a unique wisdom for artists that can be relatable in many ways. Let me list these out. As artists, it's important for us to create a colorful world or so bold that it demands attention, like a field of daffodils. We need to remember to slow down and embrace those rare moments and opportunities to recognize beauty when it's right in front of us. To find our unique voice to communicate with, like lavender or jasmine, that's easy to recognize and undeniable. To share the beauty of our art freely without expectation of reward or praise, like a wild spread of black-eyed Susans. To care for ourselves physically, emotionally, and mentally so our creative spirit can be strong and vibrant. by working or living in an environment that promotes our growth and avoids the negative toxins in the air we breathe, and to find new ways to grow and adapt despite what challenges we face, and to understand that nature holds the secrets to life, and for artists, flowers are just one part of nature that we can draw inspiration, motivation, beauty, fragrance, and sentiment from. That's a lot, but I hope this discussion was interesting for you today. It's a little bit different than I normally talk about, so I hope you enjoyed it. I thank you so much for coming by and taking just a little time out of your day to check this one out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on creativity and how flowers may play a role in your creative experiences. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and I'd love to bring you more content like this in the future. I hope you're staying well, and I hope you stop and smell the roses, and remember to take time out of life to just enjoy those little moments around us to make our lives happier and more joyful every day. Take care of yourself, and as always, God bless.